Alex Mercer had never liked quiet nights on the colony. The planet's sky was a deep, bruised purple, streaked with clouds that shimmered faintly with electrical energy. Winds swept across the barren landscape, carrying the scent of minerals and ozone. His small habitation module perched on a rocky cliff, overlooking the sprawling industrial zone where humans had carved their temporary life out of the wild terrain. It was supposed to be safe, routine, and predictable, but Alex knew that safety on a planet like this was just an illusion. He was alone tonight, as usual, repairing a communication array that had started flickering. The hum of the modules and the occasional spark from the repair console were the only sounds he could hear. He wiped his brow with the sleeve of his jumpsuit and leaned back against the console. His eyes scanned the data streams, checking for any irregularities. That's when he heard it. A soft, almost musical sound came from the doorway of his module. Alex froze. His heart thumped in his chest. He turned slowly, half expecting a maintenance bot or maybe one of the colony's security drones to have wandered inside. What he saw made him step back in disbelief. There she was, a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. She stood in the doorway, completely unafraid, completely exposed, as if she had every right to be there. The wind blew around her, tugging at the faint strands of hair that glowed slightly under the strange lighting of the module. Her eyes, sharp and intelligent, locked onto his, and a grin spread across her face. "Well, say something," she said. Her voice was smooth, confident, and strange in its melody, carrying a rhythm that felt almost alive. Alex blinked, staring. He opened his mouth, but no words came. His mind scrambled for some sort of logical explanation, but there was none. This was not a human, not even a human visitor or scout. She was something else entirely. "I'm not here to hurt you," she continued, noticing his hesitation. "I just want to see how humans react." Alex finally found his voice, but it was cautious. Who are you?" he asked, stepping slightly back, unsure whether to run or stay. She tilted her head, studying him. "I am Lyra. I come from a civilization not far from here, though our worlds rarely meet. I am a scout, and I am curious." Alex swallowed hard. His mind raced. Stories about alien scouts, alien observers, were not supposed to happen to someone like him. He was an engineer, not a hero, not someone who had been trained for first contact. And yet here she was, grinning boldly at him, waiting for some reaction. He finally nodded slowly. "Okay, Lyra, why are you like this?" He gestured vaguely at her. "I am not bound by the same customs as humans," she said simply, her grin widening. "You humans are so careful, so polite, so afraid to really see the world as it is. I wanted to see you, and your reaction." Alex's mind reeled. He had read about alien cultural differences in the colony's archives, but nothing in any book had prepared him for this. She was confident, fearless, and completely unpredictable. And yet, there was something in the way she looked at him that did not feel threatening. There was curiosity, yes, and boldness, but no malice. I don't know what to say," he admitted. He felt foolish. He was supposed to be a man of reason, an engineer who could fix circuits and calculate trajectories, yet he found himself paralyzed by a stranger standing in his doorway. Lyra laughed softly, a sound that seemed to echo just slightly in the room. "That is exactly why I am here. To see the truth of humans. You do not always respond logically. You hesitate. You wonder. You feel." Alex felt a shiver run down his spine, not from fear but from the intensity of her gaze. It was as if she could see into his thoughts, into the parts of himself he had hidden even from himself. "Why here?" he finally asked, gesturing to the module. "Why now?" "I came because this world is interesting. Your species is interesting. And because this place is dangerous," she replied. "You do not always see the dangers around you. I want to help you see, and perhaps to learn something for myself." Alex hesitated. The module was small. He could call for security, but he doubted anyone would reach him in time. And besides, she did not seem hostile. He weighed his options and finally said, "Okay, you can come in, but don't touch anything and stay visible." Lyra's grin widened. "Fair enough." She stepped inside gracefully, moving like a predator who was completely aware of its surroundings. The wind shifted, brushing her presence across the room. Alex felt a strange mix of fear and fascination. He watched her carefully, noticing details he could not name. Her eyes that seemed to shift color depending on the light. The subtle energy that hummed around her. The way she seemed to understand the layout of the module instantly. You humans live simply, she said, looking around. Your tools are primitive but clever. Your living spaces are small but efficient. You adapt well to harsh conditions. Alex nodded. We have to. This planet isn't forgiving. Anything else is a bonus. She laughed softly again. Yes, I can see that. Your species survives not by strength but by cleverness. That is admirable. He felt a spark of pride. Not because she said it, but because it was true. Humans had survived here through ingenuity, not force, and she seemed to recognize that immediately. For the next few hours, Alex and Lyra talked. He explained his work, the colony's layout, and the basic challenges of surviving on this harsh world. She listened intently, asking questions that were not meant to confuse him but to understand. Your people are interesting, she said finally, leaning casually against the wall. You fear a lot of things, yet you continue. You build, you explore, you defend, and yet you are cautious. You hesitate before action. That is strange. Alex chuckled nervously. We call that survival instinct. We don't have wings or energy shields. We have to think first, she nodded slowly. Perhaps. But sometimes hesitation can be weakness. Sometimes courage is measured by action, not thought. Alex stared at her. She was challenging him, questioning everything he thought about humanity, all without being rude or disrespectful. And somehow it felt inspiring. Before he realized it, the night had deepened. Outside the storm clouds churned and the wind howled around the module, rattling the frame. Yet inside there was a strange sense of calm. Lyra's presence was unsettling, yes, but it was also energizing. It was as if her boldness forced him to reconsider what it meant to be human. Why me? He asked suddenly. Why choose me of all people? She smiled faintly, not in mockery but in thought. Because you are human. You have hesitation, curiosity, fear, and courage. I wanted to see all of those things together. I wanted to see the balance of your species in one person. You are ordinary, yet you are also remarkable. Alex felt a strange warmth in his chest. It was pride, yes, but also a recognition that he was part of something bigger, something that reached beyond the human colony, beyond the planet, even beyond the stars he had gazed at in isolation for years. The night stretched on, and Alex felt a growing respect for Lyra. She was unpredictable. Yes, but she was also honest, direct, and intelligent. She did not hide behind human customs or politeness. She was raw, unfiltered, and alive in a way he had never seen. Finally, she rose and moved toward the doorway. I should leave soon, she said. The night is long and I have more to see. But I will return. And when I do, perhaps you will be less hesitant. Alex nodded. He realized he wanted her to return, despite the strangeness, despite the danger. There was something about her that made him feel more alive, more aware, and strangely more human. As she stepped back into the darkness, the wind pulling at her form, Alex felt the door close softly behind her. The module felt emptier, quieter, but the impression she had left was enormous. He knew that this night would change everything. It was not just an encounter. It was the beginning of something much larger. He sank into his chair, staring at the blank data screens. But his mind was elsewhere, thinking of Lyra, her boldness, and the challenge she had given him without even trying. He realized he had a choice, to continue life as usual, predictable and safe, or to rise to the challenge she had unknowingly set before him. The stars outside glimmered faintly, and somewhere in that vast, wild darkness, Lyra moved with purpose. Alex knew that when she returned, nothing would be the same. And for the first time in a long while, he felt truly awake. The next morning, Alex woke to the low hum of the colony's systems and the faint purple glow of dawn, spreading over the jagged landscape. The night had been restless. He found himself replaying the encounter with Lyra over and over in his mind. Her boldness, her confidence, the strange way she seemed to see into his thoughts, he could not shake it. Even though he had told himself that it was just an unusual alien visitor, part of him knew that this was no ordinary encounter. He dressed quickly, pulling on his jumpsuit and boots, and stepped outside. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of minerals and ozone from the previous night's storm. His eyes scanned the horizon, half expecting to see her already surveying the colony. But the cliffside was empty, the wind sweeping across the rocks as if nothing had happened. Alex went to the workshop, checking the repair logs and the array he had been fixing. Everything seemed normal, yet his mind was elsewhere. He kept glancing at the module doorway, imagining her leaning there, grinning at him with that unsettling but strangely comforting confidence. By mid-morning, the colony's activity began in earnest. Workers moved between modules, hauling materials, operating machines, and running routine checks. Alex felt the normal rhythm of life, yet it seemed dull in comparison to the memory of Lyra. He tried to focus on his work, repairing a damaged drone, but every sound, every movement, made him glance toward the module's doorway, and then he heard it. A soft, almost melodic sound, the same tone from the night before. He turned, heart pounding, and there she was, Lyra, standing in the doorway again. "Good morning," she said simply, her grin just as bold as the night before. Alex exhaled sharply. "You again?" he asked, part relieved, part exasperated. "How did you get back here?" Lyra stepped inside, unbothered by his questions. "I told you I am a scout. I can move quietly, quickly, and unseen when necessary. Your people do not need to know my methods. It is enough that I am here." Alex ran a hand through his hair, feeling a mixture of awe and irritation. "You know, most humans would call this trespassing." She laughed softly, the sound carrying easily through the workshop. "Perhaps. But most humans would not be interesting enough to observe." She tilted her head, her eyes scanning the tools and machines around him. "You are clever. You adapt well to danger, and your creativity surprises me." Alex felt a flicker of pride. Lyra's words were strange praise, but praise nonetheless. "You don't have to keep telling me that," he said, trying to hide the warmth creeping into his chest. "I will," she replied simply. "I like to remind humans of their own strengths. Often you forget them." The day stretched on with her observing quietly, occasionally asking questions about the colony, the machinery, and the work routines. Alex explained each process, each tool, and the logic behind the colony's systems. Lyra listened intently, absorbing everything with the precision of someone cataloging a species. "You humans are fascinating," she said after a long pause, her gaze thoughtful. "You build, you struggle, you survive. You fear danger, yet you create ways to overcome it. You are weak in strength, but your mind compensates." "That is admirable," Alex smiled wryly. "Thanks, I think. We do what we have to survive." "But you do more than survive," she corrected gently. "You thrive. You find solutions where there seem to be none. That is why I am here. To understand how humans think, how they live, and how they face challenges." He hesitated. "Challenges like what?" he asked cautiously, sensing that her curiosity was never idle. "Challenges like the world itself," she replied. "This planet is harsh. Your species is clever, but danger comes from all directions. Predators, weather, even other humans. You must always be vigilant." Alex nodded slowly, thinking of the hidden dangers of the colony. The cliffs, the electrical storms, the occasional aggressive wildlife. "You're right. It's not easy here. But we manage." Lyra's eyes glimmered. "Yes, you manage. And that is what I want to see. Your species under pressure. How do you respond? How do you adapt?" Over the next few days, Lyra became a constant presence. She followed him as he inspected modules, repaired machinery, and interacted with other colonists. Her alien abilities were subtle but noticeable. She could move silently, her reflexes sharper than any human's, and she seemed to notice things no human would. Tools left out of place, structural weaknesses in the modules, even small electrical fluctuations escaped her notice. Alex found himself both impressed and cautious. The other colonists began whispering, curious about the mysterious woman who appeared at Alex's module. He had to explain carefully, saying only that she was an observer from a neighboring civilization, here to study humans. Some accepted it. Others were skeptical, but none dared question his word directly. One afternoon, Alex and Lyra were inspecting a damaged power relay on the edge of the colony. The wind howled around them, carrying dust and fragments of rock. Alex climbed onto the structure, hands steady as he checked the wiring. Lyra moved beside him, her presence a strange mix of calm and energy. "You handle these tasks well," she said, watching his movements. "You do not hesitate even when there is risk," Alex grunted. "It's routine for me. If I hesitate, the system fails, people get hurt. I don't have the luxury of fear." Lyra tilted her head. "Interesting. Humans fear, yet they act anyway. That is courage." He glanced at her, noting the intensity in her eyes. "You talk about courage a lot. Is that part of your mission? To judge us?" No, she replied softly. Not to judge. To understand, to learn, and perhaps to teach. Sometimes humans do not realize their own abilities. I hope to show you what you are capable of. That evening, as the twin moons rose over the horizon, Alex and Lyra returned to the module. The colony was quiet, save for the hum of generators and the distant calls of wildlife. He paused at the doorway, watching her silhouette against the dim light. Do you ever rest? He asked. You seem tireless. I do not require rest in the same way humans do, she replied. But I observe and I reflect. That is my way of resting. I learn even while still. Alex nodded, feeling a mix of awe and unease. Her existence challenged everything he knew about life, intelligence, and resilience, and yet he could not deny the strange comfort in her presence. It was as if her boldness encouraged him to be bolder, to face challenges with less hesitation. Over the next week, their relationship deepened. Alex found himself looking forward to her observations, her questions, and even her challenges. She tested him constantly, pushing him to think faster, act more decisively, and trust his instincts. And in return, he began to notice subtle changes in her. Lyra, despite her alien confidence, began showing interest in human creativity, emotion, and problem-solving. One day, while surveying a damaged storage module, they encountered their first major test. A predator native to the planet had made its way near the colony, drawn by noise and movement. It was large, fast, and dangerous, something the humans had struggled to contain before. Alex froze for a moment, analyzing the situation. Lyra, however, stepped forward calmly, scanning the area with her sharp senses. We must act quickly, she said. Your species relies on strategy. We can trap it, divert it, and prevent it from harming others. Working together, they set up a series of improvised barriers and signals, using their combined knowledge of human technology and Lyra's alien perception. The predator approached cautiously, unaware of the trap. With a final signal from Alex, it was safely guided away from the colony, disappearing into the wilderness. Lyra looked at him afterward, her expression unreadable at first, then slowly breaking into a smile. You think quickly. You adapt. You are impressive. Alex laughed, finally allowing himself a sense of accomplishment. We make a good team, I guess. Yes, she said simply. You and I, we complement each other. Humans have courage. You have ingenuity. I have perception. Together, we can face more than you imagine. That night, as Alex lay in his small bed, he reflected on everything that had happened. Lyra was no longer just a visitor. She was a mirror, reflecting both his strengths and weaknesses and challenging him to grow. Her presence was unsettling, yes, but also inspiring. He realized that humans often underestimated themselves. But with courage, curiosity, and cooperation, they could achieve far more than they imagined. Outside, the wind swept over the cliffs, carrying the sounds of a wild planet alive with energy and danger. Somewhere in the distance, Lyra moved with quiet grace, observing, learning, and preparing for whatever came next. Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The colony, the planet, and their understanding of what it meant to be human and alive were about to be tested in ways neither of them could yet imagine. And for the first time, Alex felt ready. The next morning dawned with a restless energy that Alex could feel in his bones. The twin suns of the planet cast a harsh golden light across the jagged landscape, reflecting off the metallic surfaces of the colony modules. He had barely finished his first cup of synth coffee when the communication console crackled to life, interrupting the calm routine. Alex, came the voice of Lieutenant Carter over the comlink, tense and hurried. We've received a transmission from a nearby sector. Unknown origin. Strong signal, it's alien. Alex's heart skipped a beat. He glanced toward the doorway, half expecting Lyra to appear. She had been quiet for hours, watching him work, observing the colony's routines. He tapped the comm panel quickly, bringing the transmission into clearer focus. The message was fragmented, a mix of harsh sounds and distorted images. It was clear immediately that it was not friendly. The visuals showed a fleet of ships, sleek and dangerous, moving with precision and speed. The voice, if it could be called that, was commanding, filled with authority and menace. The translation software struggled to decode it fully, but the meaning was unmistakable. Humans were being warned or threatened to leave the planet or face destruction. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. He glanced at Lyra, who had been silently observing the comm screens. Her expression was unreadable, but her posture was tense. "They have noticed me," she said finally, her voice calm but serious. "This is a hostile faction. They will not hesitate to destroy your colony to achieve their goals." Alex swallowed hard. How dangerous are we talking about?" Lyra's gaze swept the horizon, calculating distances and analyzing the data from the comm. "They are highly trained, advanced in technology, and relentless. If they attack, they will not spare anyone. Your species is underestimated by them." Alex felt a surge of determination. He had faced danger before: storms, wildlife, mechanical failures, but nothing like this. The colony was small, isolated, and not built for a direct assault. Yet he could not allow panic to spread. "What do we do?" he asked, already thinking through possibilities. Lyra stepped closer, her presence commanding. "We prepare. You have ingenuity, humans have adaptability, and I have knowledge of their tactics. Together we can defend your colony, but we must act fast." Over the next several hours, Alex and Lyra worked tirelessly. They analyzed the transmission, mapping the potential approach routes of the enemy ships. Alex coordinated with the colony's engineers and security personnel, implementing emergency defenses and reinforcing weak points. Lyra offered guidance, her alien perception allowing them to anticipate the enemy's strategies. Alex marveled at her insight. She was unlike any human strategist he had ever met. She predicted movements, suggested diversions, and proposed traps that combined alien technology with human ingenuity. The two of them moved like a single mind, their skills complementing each other perfectly. As night fell, the colony took on a tense quiet. The preparations were complete, and the colonists were on high alert. Alex stood at the edge of the main platform, looking out at the darkened horizon where the distant stars shimmered. The wind carried the faint hum of distant machines, and somewhere far away, the enemy fleet was moving, silent and inevitable. Lyra joined him silently. "You are ready," she said. "Your species is capable of more than you realize." "This will be a test," Alex nodded. "I hope we're enough." Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "We will make it enough together." The first attack came without warning. A fleet of sleek, dark ships emerged from the horizon, moving faster than human eyes could track. The colony's sensors beeped frantically, alarms blaring throughout the modules. Colonists scrambled to stations while Alex and Lyra coordinated defenses. "Activate the perimeter shields," Alex shouted, his voice steady despite the surge of adrenaline. "Deploy the energy nets. Everyone to defensive positions." Lyra moved swiftly, guiding teams and scanning the approaching ships. Her alien reflexes allowed her to react instantly, pointing out vulnerabilities and advising on the optimal use of the colony's limited weaponry. Alex followed her instructions, marveling at the precision of her knowledge. The first wave of ships approached rapidly, launching energy pulses toward the colony. The shields flared, absorbing the impact, but the force rattled the modules. Alex's hands flew over the control panels, recalibrating the shields to withstand the next wave. Lyra's voice cut through the chaos. "The central command ship is leading. If we disable it, the rest will retreat." Alex's mind raced. The central ship was heavily armored, faster than any other vessel and heavily armed. It would not be easy to take down, but he knew they had no choice. "We need a diversion," he said. "Draw them toward the eastern ridge. I can set up a trap there with the energy nets and the gravity field disruptor." Lyra nodded. "I will guide you. Trust in your species' ingenuity. That is what they underestimate." Together, they executed the plan. Alex manipulated the terrain and energy nets, creating obstacles and traps that would slow the central ship. Lyra directed the colony's defensive teams, moving with speed and precision to ensure every measure was in place. The battle unfolded in a blur of light, sound, and motion. The enemy ships moved with deadly efficiency, but the humans' clever traps forced them into vulnerable positions. Alex's heart pounded as he monitored the energy fields and shield outputs. Lyra's guidance was flawless, and he began to realize how much humans could achieve with determination and cooperation. Finally, the central ship entered the trap. Energy nets entangled it. The gravity disruptor destabilized its movement, and the colony's coordinated attacks forced it into retreat. The remaining ships, seeing their leader falter, began withdrawing. The night air was filled with the hum of retreating engines and the distant roar of the planet's wind. Alex sank to the ground, exhausted but exhilarated. Lyra stood beside him, her expression unreadable at first, then breaking into a small approving smile. "You did well," she said softly. "Your species is capable of courage and strategy. You have defended your home with intelligence, not just force." Alex laughed, a mix of relief and disbelief. "I couldn't have done it without you." Lyra shook her head gently. "No, you did this." "I guided, you acted. Humans underestimate themselves too often. Tonight you proved your worth, and I have learned much about your species." For the first time, Alex saw a hint of admiration in her eyes, not for herself, but for him, and by extension, for all humans. It was a feeling he had rarely experienced, a mixture of respect and recognition. The aftermath of the battle left the colony in a tense calm. Engineers and colonists worked to repair damage while Alex and Lyra oversaw the cleanup. Despite the exhaustion, there was a sense of accomplishment. They had faced a threat that seemed impossible, yet through courage, ingenuity, and cooperation, they had survived. That night, Alex found himself staring out at the stars once more, thinking about the enemy fleet and the challenges ahead. He knew that this was only the beginning. The hostile faction might return, stronger and more prepared. Yet he also knew that humans were stronger than they believed, especially when they worked together and trusted their instincts. Lyra appeared at his side, as silent and graceful as ever. "You have done well today," she said quietly. "But remember, this world is vast and danger is never far. You must continue to be vigilant, and you must continue to grow." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of determination he had not known before. "I will, I think we can handle whatever comes next." She tilted her head, studying him. "Perhaps. But you must also remember to trust yourself, not just the plans and tools. Courage is not only in strategy but in action." He smiled faintly. "I'll try." Lyra's presence, her guidance, and her unwavering confidence had become a strange source of strength for him. She challenged him, inspired him, and pushed him to be better, to see beyond fear, and to embrace the full potential of human ingenuity. As the night deepened, Alex realized that the bond between them was growing stronger. It was not a friendship in the human sense, nor was it fully alien, but something in between, a partnership born of trust, respect, and shared survival. And in that partnership, he felt a new kind of courage, one that could face not only external threats but the unknown challenges that lay ahead. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the enemy fleet still lingered, silent and threatening, but Alex no longer felt the same fear. He knew that humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient. With Lyra's guidance and his own determination, they had a chance not just to survive, but to thrive. And in the quiet moments before dawn, as the first light touched the jagged cliffs, Alex felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He was no longer just an engineer on a distant colony. He was a defender, a strategist, and a symbol of human courage. Lyra, standing beside him, glanced out at the horizon. "The test is not over," she said softly. "But you have passed the first challenge, and now you must prepare for what comes next." Alex nodded, a quiet smile on his face. "Then we face it together." For the first time, he felt truly ready. The days following the first attack were tense and exhausting. The colony's systems were patched, shields reinforced, and patrols doubled. But Alex knew that this was only the beginning. The enemy fleet had retreated, but they would not stay away for long. He could feel it in the data streams, in the patterns of the transmissions, and in the uneasy murmurs of the colonists. Lyra moved beside him as they walked along the edge of the colony platform. She was quiet, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon, noting every shadow and movement. Alex could not help but marvel at her focus. Even after the battle, her energy never waned. She seemed attuned to danger in a way humans could only dream of. "We cannot predict exactly when they will return," she said finally, breaking the silence. "But we can prepare, and we must anticipate not just their attack but their strategy. They will test us. They will try to find weaknesses." Alex nodded. "I've already been thinking about traps, diversions, and defensive positioning. We have the terrain, the shields, and the energy nets. But they're smarter than us and they'll adapt quickly." Lyra's eyes glimmered with calculation. "That is why you must think beyond your technology. Humans have creativity. You adapt to the unexpected. That is your greatest strength." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. Alex coordinated with engineers to reinforce critical structures, while Lyra devised strategies for ambushes, patrol patterns, and fallback plans. She taught the colonists to think differently, to anticipate enemy moves rather than just react. One afternoon, as they were inspecting a ridge that overlooked the eastern approach, Lyra paused. Her head tilted slightly, ears picking up sounds Alex could not perceive. "Something approaches," she said calmly. "Not ships. Ground units. Small agile scouting teams. They are testing us." Alex felt a surge of tension. He had been prepared for a fleet attack, but ground units meant stealth, speed, and unpredictability. He quickly organized the colony's defensive teams, setting up traps, tripwires, and concealed positions. Lyra guided them, pointing out vantage points and weaknesses in the terrain. The first scouts emerged just as the sun dipped below the horizon. They were small, sleek, and fast, alien soldiers equipped with advanced camouflage. They moved silently, almost invisible against the rocks and shadows. Alex's pulse quickened, but Lyra's calm presence kept him focused. "Wait," she whispered. "Do not engage yet. Let them fall into the trap." The aliens moved closer, unaware of the energy nets and improvised barriers waiting for them. Alex held his breath as the first scout triggered a net, ensnaring it. A burst of light and energy illuminated the area, revealing the rest of the team. Lyra's guidance was precise. "Hold your positions. Use minimal force. Do not waste energy. Let them come to you." The ambush was successful. The scouts were contained without serious injury to the colony, and Alex felt a rush of satisfaction. He glanced at Lyra, who nodded approvingly. "You acted well. Quick thinking and courage. That is human strength." But the moment of relief was short-lived. A deep vibration ran through the ground, accompanied by a distant mechanical roar. Alex's eyes widened. "They're bringing something bigger," he said. Lyra's expression hardened. "A heavy assault unit. Advanced combat machine. Faster, stronger, nearly unstoppable. We must be ready." Alex's mind raced. The colony's defenses could handle small units, but a heavy assault machine could crush their structures in minutes. "We need a plan. We need to slow it down, trap it, or disable it somehow," he muttered, scanning the terrain. Lyra's eyes flicked to him, sharp and focused. "Your species adapts quickly. Use the environment. Make it work for you. Predict its movement and force it into disadvantage. You are cleverer than it assumes." Together they devised a daring plan. Using a combination of energy nets, terrain manipulation, and controlled explosions, they could create a funnel to guide the assault machine into a confined area where it could be neutralized. Alex briefed the colonists while Lyra moved among them, demonstrating tactics and boosting confidence. The night was dark and filled with tension as the assault unit approached. Alex and Lyra positioned themselves at the command point overseeing the trap. The ground shook with each step of the machine as it advanced, its armor glinting under the moonlight. "Wait for my signal," Lyra instructed. "Do not trigger anything prematurely." The machine moved closer, its sensors scanning for threats. Alex's hands moved over the control panels, adjusting shields and triggering defensive measures at precise moments. Lyra's voice guided him, calm and confident. "Now, trigger the nets and channel it forward." The machine was caught in the trap, its massive form forcing it into the designated area. Controlled energy bursts and terrain manipulation slowed its movement, while the colony's teams attacked its weak points. Sparks flew, metal groaned, and the machine systems faltered. Finally, with a coordinated effort, the assault unit was disabled. Alex exhaled, feeling the adrenaline leave his body in waves. Lyra turned to him, her expression one of quiet approval. "You did well. Humans can achieve greatness when they trust themselves and their abilities." Alex smiled, though he was exhausted. "We did it together. I couldn't have done this alone." Lyra's eyes softened slightly. "Perhaps. But you led. You acted with courage and intelligence. That is what matters. I have learned much from you, Alex. And I believe you have learned from me as well." The aftermath of the battle left the colony tense but relieved. Engineers and colonists worked to repair damage while Alex and Lyra oversaw the cleanup. The heavy assault machine had been neutralized, but the threat of the enemy fleet still loomed. As dawn broke over the horizon, Alex found a moment to himself. He stood at the edge of the platform, watching the lights spill over the jagged cliffs. Lyra appeared beside him silently, her presence comforting despite the chaos of the past days. "You are changing," she said quietly. "I can see it. Your courage, your confidence, your ability to think beyond the obvious. It is growing." Alex chuckled softly. I suppose I have to. The colony depends on it, and I suppose you've pushed me harder than anyone ever has. She smiled faintly. That is my purpose. To observe, to learn, and to guide, and perhaps to challenge. Humans often underestimate themselves. I want you to see what you are capable of. Over the next week, the colony settled into a tense routine. Patrols were constant, defensive measures improved, and training became more rigorous. Alex and Lyra continued to work side by side, their bond deepening through shared challenges. They learned to anticipate each other's moves, to communicate with subtle gestures, and to trust in each other's instincts. One afternoon, while inspecting a remote sensor array, Alex paused to take a breath. Lyra watched him curiously. You are thoughtful, she said. You consider your actions carefully even in moments of stress. That is wise. I have to be, Alex replied. Every decision could mean life or death for someone here. Lyra nodded. Yes, and that is why I am here. To see how you handle responsibility, how you balance caution with action. You are growing, Alex. Your species has the potential for greatness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple, a new transmission arrived. This one was different, urgent, direct, and unmistakably alien. The enemy fleet was returning, larger and more organized than before. They had learned from their previous defeat and were coming to claim the planet. Alex and Lyra exchanged a glance, understanding the gravity of the situation. This would not be a small test. This would be a full-scale attack, and the colony's survival would depend on every ounce of their skill, courage, and cooperation. Lyra placed a hand on Alex's shoulder, her touch firm but reassuring. You are ready. Trust in yourself, in your people, and in what we have built together. You have proven yourself already. Now you must lead. Alex felt a surge of determination. He had faced fear, uncertainty, and overwhelming odds before, but now he felt something stronger. Confidence. He knew that humans could rise to any challenge, and with Lyra's guidance they could face even the most dangerous foes. As night fell, the colony prepared for battle once more. Shields hummed, energy nets charged, and every colonist took their position. Alex stood at the command center, Lyra beside him, watching the dark horizon where the enemy fleet approached. This was the true test, the culmination of everything they had learned. And Alex felt ready. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a leader, a strategist, and a symbol of human courage. And with Lyra at his side, he knew that together, they could face whatever came next. The night air was thick with tension, and the colony's lights cast long shadows over the jagged cliffs. The twin moons reflected off the metallic surfaces, giving the settlement an eerie glow. Every colonist was at their station, every sensor active and every weapon ready. Alex stood at the command center, his hands steady on the controls, though his mind raced. The enemy fleet was approaching, larger than before and more organized. This was the moment they had been preparing for, the ultimate test of human courage, ingenuity, and survival. Lyra appeared at his side, her presence calm yet commanding. She scanned the horizon, her alien perception picking up subtle details no human could detect. They are coming faster than I predicted, she said softly, but with no hint of fear. Their formation is tight. They have learned from their last defeat. This will be a difficult battle. Alex exhaled slowly, trying to steady his nerves. We faced them before and we survived. This time we're ready. Every trap, every shield, every team member. They're all in place. Lyra's gaze met his, sharp and intense. Prepared, yes. But preparation alone will not save you. You must act, adapt, and trust in your instincts. Your people will look to you. Lead them well. The first ships appeared on the horizon, dark and sleek, moving with deadly precision. Energy pulses flickered as the enemy tested the colony's shields. Alex's pulse quickened, but he focused, issuing commands to deploy energy nets, activate perimeter shields, and direct defensive teams. Lyra moved with him, her insights guiding every decision, predicting enemy movements before they occurred. The battle began in earnest. The enemy ships advanced in waves, launching energy projectiles and deploying agile ground units. The colony responded with precision. Energy nets entangled enemy scouts, shields absorbed incoming fire, and defensive teams moved with coordinated efficiency. Alex marveled at how his people had adapted under pressure. their ingenuity matching the threat they faced. Lyra's voice cut through the comms. Focus on the central command ship. Disable it and the rest will falter. Use the terrain and the traps we have prepared. Alex nodded. He quickly calculated the best path to funnel the central ship into the trap. The plan was risky, but it was their only chance. He coordinated with the teams, setting barriers, energy nets, and controlled explosions along the ridge. Every detail had to be perfect. As the central ship approached, it became clear that the enemy had adapted to some of their defenses. Shields were tested to the limit, energy nets were partially avoided, and the assault units advanced with brutal efficiency. Alex's hands flew over the control panels, recalibrating shields and directing teams to adjust positions. Lyra's guidance was precise. Now trigger the nets in sequence. Force it into the choke point. Trust in your calculations. The central ship fell into the trap, its massive form struggling against the energy nets and controlled explosions. Sparks flew and metal groaned under stress. Alex's heart pounded as he monitored the shields and energy levels. Lyra moved alongside him, directing teams to target weak points, her alien perception allowing them to exploit vulnerabilities the enemy had not anticipated. Despite their efforts, the enemy proved relentless. Additional ships attempted to flank the colony, and ground units pressed closer. Alex felt the pressure mounting, the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He glanced at Lyra, who met his gaze calmly. "You can do this," she said quietly. "Your species thrives under pressure. Remember your courage, your ingenuity, and the trust of those around you." Alex drew a deep breath and refocused. He began improvising, combining the colony's technology with his own strategies. He created false energy signatures to mislead enemy sensors, set up decoy traps, and guided teams to exploit terrain advantages. Lyra's presence remained a constant source of clarity and guidance, helping him make split-second decisions that would determine the colony's survival. Hours passed in a blur of energy pulses, alarms, and shouted commands. The battle raged across the cliffs and platforms, but slowly the tide began to turn. The central ship was heavily damaged, its systems failing under the coordinated assault. The remaining enemy units faltered, their strategy disrupted by the humans' adaptability and Lyra's precise guidance. Finally, with a coordinated effort, the central ship was disabled. Energy nets ensnared it completely, and controlled explosions disabled its propulsion. The remaining ships, seeing their command falter, began a retreat, pulling away into the darkness of space. Ground units withdrew, unable to overcome the colony's clever defenses. Alex sank into his chair, exhausted but exhilarated. The colony had survived not through sheer force but through ingenuity, courage, and teamwork. Lyra stood beside him, her expression one of quiet approval. "You have done well," she said. "You led your people with wisdom and courage. Your species is capable of greatness beyond what many realize." Alex smiled faintly, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "We did it together," he said. "I couldn't have done this alone." Lyra's eyes softened. "Perhaps. But you were the leader. You acted with courage and intelligence. That is what matters. I have learned much from observing you, and I believe your people have learned as well. Humans are stronger than they know." The aftermath of the battle left the colony battered but intact. Engineers and colonists worked tirelessly to repair damage, restore power, and ensure that the settlement was secure. Alex and Lyra oversaw the cleanup, guiding teams and ensuring that every system functioned properly. Despite the exhaustion, there was a sense of accomplishment and unity. In the quiet moments after the battle, Alex found himself reflecting on everything that had happened. Lyra had challenged him, guided him, and inspired him to see beyond fear and doubt. She had shown him the potential of human courage and ingenuity, and in turn he had shown her the resilience, adaptability, and determination of his species. One evening, as the colony rested under the twin moons, Alex stood at the edge of the platform watching the horizon. Lyra joined him silently, her presence comforting after the chaos of the past days. "You have changed," she said quietly. "I can see it. Your confidence, your courage, your ability to lead, it has grown. You are no longer just an observer. You are a symbol of human strength." Alex smiled faintly. "I suppose I had to change. The colony depends on it, and I suppose you pushed me harder than anyone ever has." Lyra tilted her head, a rare smile touching her lips. "That is my purpose, to observe, to guide, and to challenge. Humans often underestimate themselves. I hope you now see what you are capable of." Alex felt a surge of determination. The enemy fleet might return, stronger and more organized, but he knew that the colony could survive. Humans had courage, creativity, and adaptability. With Lyra's guidance, they could face any challenge. Over the next few weeks, life in the colony returned to a careful rhythm. Patrols remained constant, training intensified, and defensive measures were continually improved. Alex and Lyra worked closely, their partnership stronger than ever. They shared knowledge, strategies, and moments of quiet reflection, understanding each other in ways that transcended species. One afternoon, while inspecting a repaired module, Alex paused and looked at Lyra. "You've been here with me for so long. I don't even know if I can call you a visitor anymore." Lyra studied him, her expression thoughtful. "I am no longer merely an observer. You have shown me the strength of your species, Alex. And you have shown me the value of trust, courage, and cooperation. I have learned much from being here." Alex nodded, understanding the depth of her words. "And I've learned from you. About strategy, about perception, about pushing beyond fear. You've made me better than I was." Lyra's eyes softened, a rare warmth showing through her alien features. "Then perhaps that is what this was always meant to be. Not just a test, but a lesson for both of us. Humans can rise to greatness when they trust themselves, and I have learned that even in the most dangerous moments, courage and intelligence can prevail." As the twin moons rose over the horizon, casting their pale light over the jagged cliffs and glowing modules, Alex felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The colony had survived not through luck, but through human ingenuity, courage, and the guidance of a remarkable ally. Lyra stood beside him silently, her presence a reminder of everything they had faced together. "The test is complete," she said softly. "Your people have survived, and you have led them well. But remember, challenges will always come. Courage, intelligence, and unity will always be your greatest weapons." Alex smiled faintly, gazing at the horizon. "I understand. And I'll be ready, whatever comes next." Lyra nodded, her eyes glimmering in the moonlight. "I believe you will be, and I will be here, observing, guiding, and learning. Together, we have proven that humans can rise to any challenge, no matter how impossible it seems." In that quiet moment, with the colony safe and the stars stretching endlessly above, Alex realized something profound. Humans were more than survival machines. They were thinkers, creators, and fighters. They could face the harshest worlds, the deadliest enemies, and emerge stronger than before. And with Lyra at his side, he knew that the future held endless possibilities. The night passed peacefully for the first time in weeks. The colony was secure, the threat temporarily gone, and the people rested. Alex remained at the edge of the platform for a long while,